Welcome to War Lens Archive Channel. The morning of December 7th, 1941, began like any other. Calm skies, quiet waters, and a sense of routine at Pearl Harbor. Sailors went about their duties, unaware that within minutes, history would shift forever. At exactly 7:48 a.m., that peaceful morning shattered as chaos erupted from the sky. Japanese aircraft filled the sky, descending like a storm over Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Within moments, they unleashed a devastating barrage. Bullets tore through the air, and bombs fell with terrifying precision. Battleships exploded into towering infernos, while nearby airfields crumbled under the assault. Planes destroyed before they could even take off. In less than 2 hours, the unthinkable had happened. Smoke filled the air, ships lay in ruins, and more than 2,400 Americans had lost their lives. The calm of that morning was replaced by shock, grief, and fury. What had begun as a surprise attack had now ignited the Pacific into a full-scale war. Japan's ambition was clear. It aimed to build an empire across Asia and seize control of the Pacific. With vast resources and powerful military might, it moved swiftly, determined to crush anything in its path. But one major force stood between Japan and total dominance. The United States Navy, strong, strategic, and unwilling to back down. And so, Japan made the first move, launching a bold and brutal surprise attack, aiming to cripple America's military strength before it had a chance to respond. They believed a sudden blow would force the U.S. to retreat or hesitate. But what they didn't anticipate was a wave of anger and determination that followed. A nation awakened, ready to fight back with everything it had. The attack on Pearl Harbor left no room for hesitation. Just one day later, on December 8, 1941, the United States made its position clear. With a unified Congress and a nation in mourning, President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared war on Japan. What was once a distant conflict had now become America's war, and there was no turning back. With America reeling, Japan wasted no time. Its empire surged across the Pacific, capturing Guam, Wake Island, and the Philippines in rapid succession. Like a wildfire, Japanese forces swept through Southeast Asia, overpowering resistance, planting their flag on one territory after another, and tightening their grip on the region with alarming speed. In the Philippines, American and Filipino troops faced impossible odds. Severely outnumbered, low on food, medicine, and ammunition, they held their ground as long as they could. Forced to retreat, they dug in at the Bataan Peninsula, fighting bravely for months. But by April 1942, exhausted and surrounded, they had no choice but to surrender. What came next was one of the darkest chapters of the war, the Bataan Death March. Tens of thousands of exhausted prisoners were forced to walk 65 miles under a scorching sun, with no food, no water, and no rest. Along the way, many were beaten, tortured, or executed without mercy. It was pure cruelty, and it lit a fire in America to strike back harder than ever before. In April 1942, the United States took a bold step. 16 B-25 bombers, launched from the deck of the USS Hornet, flew straight into enemy territory on a daring mission to strike Tokyo. The raid caused only limited physical damage, but it sent a powerful message. Japan was not untouchable. The attack rattled their confidence and proved that America was ready to fight back on every front. Then came the turning point, midway June 1942. After cracking Japanese naval codes, the U.S. Navy uncovered their next move and prepared a trap near a tiny, remote atoll in the Pacific. American forces lay in wait, hidden and ready, as Japan unknowingly sailed into an ambush that would change the course of the war. In the fierce battle that followed, the tide of war began to turn. Four of Japan's most powerful aircraft carriers were destroyed in flames, sending shockwaves through their navy. The United States lost one carrier in return, a heavy price, but a strategic victory. From that moment on, the momentum had shifted. The Pacific no longer belonged to Japan. The United States launched a new strategy. Island by island, battle by battle, they would push closer to Japan. Known as island hopping, the plan was both simple and smart: target only the most important islands, seize control, and build airstrips for the next leap forward. Each captured island brought them one step closer to the Japanese mainland and tightened the noose around the empire. August 1942 marked the beginning of the brutal fight for Guadalcanal, a remote island turned into a deadly battlefield. For 6 grueling months, American forces faced relentless jungle warfare, hunger, disease, and near-constant attacks by land, sea, and air. In the end, the U.S. emerged victorious, but the cost was high, and it was clear that every step forward in this war would be paid for in blood. By 1944, the United States was gaining ground in the Pacific. American forces launched fierce assaults and successfully captured Saipan, Guam, and Tinian, 3 key islands in the Mariana Chain. These hard-fought victories gave the U.S. critical launching points for air attacks and brought them within striking distance of Japan's heartland. From the island of Tinian, something unimaginable was being prepared, a powerful weapon that would soon reshape the course of history. Hidden on its runways and inside its hangars, crews readied the bomb that would change the world forever. But before that moment arrived, America's attention turned to another critical front, the battle to retake the Philippines. In October 1944, the seas roared with the fury of the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in human history. Japanese forces launched a desperate, all-out assault to stop the American advance, deploying every ship, plane, and tactic they had left. But despite their massive effort, they were overwhelmed. The U.S. Navy held strong, and Japan's naval power was broken for good. Out of desperation came a new and terrifying tactic, the rise of the kamikazes. These were pilots who willingly turned themselves into weapons, guiding their planes straight into enemy ships with deadly precision. Explosions rocked the seas as flames engulfed steel. It wasn't just an attack. It was psychological warfare, designed to strike fear into every sailor watching the skies. Then came Iwo Jima, February 1945, a small volcanic island, but critical to the war's endgame. Covered in black sand and fortified by thousands of Japanese defenders, it stood as a gateway to Japan itself. For American forces, capturing Iwo Jima meant having a launch point for bombing raids, but they knew it would come at a terrible cost. Iwo Jima was more than just an island. It was a fortress, a sulfurous rock in the vast Pacific. It was defended by 21,000 determined Japanese soldiers, hidden deep within a maze of bunkers, tunnels, and fortified caves. As American forces landed, they met fierce resistance. What followed was 5 weeks of relentless, close-quarters combat, some of the bloodiest fighting of the entire war. The cost of Iwo Jima was staggering. Nearly 7,000 American Marines lost their lives on that tiny island, each step forward paid for in blood. On the other side, almost every Japanese soldier fought to the last breath, refusing to surrender. It was a battle of sheer endurance and sacrifice, a haunting preview of what an invasion of mainland Japan might bring. Amid the smoke and bloodshed of Iwo Jima, one powerful image emerged, a group of U.S. Marines raising the American flag atop Mount Suribachi. Captured in a single photograph, it became a symbol of hope, courage, and hard-fought victory. That moment, frozen in time, rose not from triumph alone, but from the ashes of one of the war's most hellish battles. April 1945, Okinawa, the last step before Japan itself. 12,000 Americans died, 100,000 Japanese soldiers, over 75,000 civilians. The island burned. It showed what an invasion of Japan might cost, millions. By mid-1945, the war in the Pacific had reached its final and most terrifying stage. Cities were in ruins, armies exhausted, and the cost of every battle grew higher. But behind the scenes, the United States were preparing something unimaginable, a powerful secret weapon that would forever change the nature of warfare and bring the conflict to a sudden, devastating end. On August 6, 1945, a single American B-29 bomber, named Enola Gay, soared over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. At exactly 8:15 a.m., it released its deadly cargo, the first atomic bomb used in war. In a blinding flash of light and heat, the city was torn apart. Buildings vanished, firestorms erupted, and over 70,000 people were gone in an instant. The world had never seen destruction like this. Just 3 days after Hiroshima, on August 9, 1945, the skies over Japan darkened once again, this time above the city of Nagasaki. A second atomic bomb was dropped, unleashing a blast even more powerful than the first. In a matter of moments, the city was engulfed in fire and ash. Tens of thousands more lives were lost, and the unimaginable became reality. twice in the same week. On August 15, 1945, Japan announced its unconditional surrender. After years of brutal conflict, the guns finally fell silent. Across the world, relief and mourning mixed. Victory had come, but at a staggering cost. The war was over, but the scars it left would never fully heal. In that moment, history turned a page, and the modern world was born from the ashes of devastation. The cost of the Pacific War? Over 30 million lives across Asia and Pacific. Cities flattened, empires broken, a planet forever scarred. But it ended, and from the ruins, the world rebuilt.